Driven by the same ambition as any of the daimyo contending for the shogunate, Yoshiaki brought war to his borders over and over. Every time his forces cleared enemies aside, earning rewards such as the capture of Aki and Iwami throughout the course of 1556. Over winter there was a precarious peace, one that evidence suggests Yoshiaki might have even intended to honor, but his enemies knew not to take chances with him. Spring broke along with the previous year's treaties, and war returned to western Honshu. Thank you for seeing me, mighty prince. The matter at hand is a delicate one. I understand. There are indeed things that are best left out of father's hands, for the good of all of us. Oh, of course that's not what I meant, but then again, I do find that argument very persuasive. There are two issues, both on the matter of the indentured men. Firstly, there are some rather well-informed Japanese merchants who appear at every market to buy half the stock. What exactly they could be doing with all those workers, I don't know, and perhaps you could explain the practice to me, if it is something I am unaware of. It is not exactly my place to know. Our deal does not give you exclusive rights to the supply of anything. If there are buyers more eager than your companies, then so be it. But they are always there, the same men, with tight lips and loose purses. Something is going on. We are at war, good father. I am afraid the matters of your merchants' competition fall outside of clan interests for now. So be it. How about the other problem then? Far too many of those you are selling are Christian. They may claim that, yes. Some of them are, I assure you. I know true faith, my prince. I think that it would be wise for both of our sakes to ensure the Christians are exempt from any process of indenturing. Christians are harder to sell, and your people could always use another reason to listen to the Lord's word. Hello there and welcome back to Barbarian Masters, where we are once again at war with the Matsuda. Although first I'm looking into this issue of the trade node that I wanted to capture. I realised it wasn't controlled by the Amiko as I previously thought. It's controlled by a clan right at the other end of Japan, the Ura, and they're allied to the Nanbu. That means there's basically two regions I could end up at war with if I sent ships to just go and take that region by force, and I'm quite happy with that prospect since they're so far away and they won't be very powerful, so I'm going to prepare trade ships to go and just steal it, and we will leave the Amiko on the island and not do any land invasions against them. Instead, we'll focus our land forces on the Matsuda, and the first move we're going to make is have Yoshiaki just continue along his warpath along the northern mountain circuit and just hit the next castle. There was no garrison, so we'll just take it. It seems the Matsuda weren't quite ready for this engagement to start, and hopefully we'll be able to maintain public order in the places we've left behind. I'm moving up lots of missionaries and priests, so it's getting pretty easy now because we have so many of them available. That said, I am going to stay here for a while and not move on from this castle because we will need to hold it for a bit to make sure it doesn't rebel behind us. We also need to get rid of the Buddhist temples they've got going here. The Matsuda have quite a lot of Buddhist temples in their domain, my spying has revealed, so they are quite religious it seems. And here they also have a special religious site. It's a special forest, and controlling it gives you minus 15% administration costs. At first that didn't really seem to do anything, but it's going to come in handy in the next turn as we'll see. I also noticed that we have the ability to build a Nanban port here, and we really do need to get some better ports, especially up on the front line. If you use Nanban ports, you can convert the population to Christianity through them, so that will be nice. I'm going to start working on the techs we need to actually do those upgrades. We saw the Matsuda armies coming towards Aki there, just ran away, probably because they saw that Chikuharu was now near the castle and it wasn't worth making an attack, so things have just stabilized there as a result. we've got the next level of prestige. We now have national renown. We're about halfway towards having realm divide level prestige. Pretty much everyone knows us. We're one of the major clans in Japan right now, alongside the Takeda and the Uesugi over in the east, who also have quite a lot of territory. The Matsuda would have been one of the greater clans if we hadn't invaded them the moment they rose to prominence, and we're going to continue to orchestrate their downfall if we can. I'm also going to assassinate this monk who wandered into our territory. I just sent a geisha to go and stab him up in the middle of the night. Easy enough. Geishas seem to have a lot more leeway to just kill people than your actual assassins do, so they're pretty handy for that. And that's going to stop him from converting any of our population back to Buddhism, although he probably would have failed in this case, since we have +3 to conversion just in any province that we own for being the Otomo clan, and that makes it quite hard to convert our provinces back to Buddhism once they're Christian. Anyway, as for the military strategy, I'm going to hide our main force with Kobayakawa so the Matsuda in theory won't know it's here, and then Yoshishige can just stand around to possibly bait them back into our province to get ambushed. If we can take them out in a defensive fight, we could then counter-invade and take one of their castles, but they have so many forces near their own castles that I don't want to go on the offensive, just like in the last war. Now, I realise now that I'm suddenly making loads of money, and this is where that administration cost reduction thing comes in. The administration cost is a bit like corruption in the later games, where it just gives you a blanket reduction to income. So having a 15% reduction to your reduction in income actually gives you quite a lot more money. So I'm making over 1,000 extra return just by holding this province, which makes this place extremely valuable, easily our most valuable province. In fact, we don't make that much money from anywhere else. Perhaps our trade ports technically make more money than that, but anyway, we definitely need to hold this place, and we're going to be tested on that right away because the Matsuda main force suddenly appears and lays siege to it with Yoshishige inside. Their army's looking pretty good. A lot of their troops have experience, there's tons of samurai, and lots of them have upgrades to charge bonus or morale, so that's looking pretty nice. But they do also have quite a lot of cavalry, making it not especially suitable for a siege assault. That means although they have that small advantage on the balance bar, I think in fact the advantage will be ours in this fight. Considering the speed with which you violated our agreement, I'm surprised you wanted to talk. I came to explain myself to you. I don't think I need to be patronized by hearing your strategy, my friend. Yes, you do. You are bringing darkness to this land, and I'm not convinced you even realize it. Darkness? You think very highly of yourself if that is how you imagine a world without you in it. I mean the barbarian menace. They will enslave every one of us given the chance. Good to have a steady hand like me at the rudder then, isn't it? Is that all? You are no longer a man, but a demon. You will be purified. My troops will rebirth the Otomo clan and purge the corruption of the Nanban. Bravo, just what I was waiting for. I suppose I'll just leave now. Maybe that will speed things up. I'll see you inside the castle, if you can get in. Often the AI doesn't even bother to use its cavalry when it has loads of them for a siege assault, but here they were pretty good about dismounting cav to use as infantry units, and they're still going to be pretty decent infantry units. They're not quite as good as regular foot samurai, but they are still samurai. We've got samurai to face them though. I've got 2 units of Yari samurai who are going to try and stop this assault coming from the southwest. Basically doing the classic tactic of trying to get the enemy to fight beneath our matchlocks from their elevated position. They should be able to snipe down a ton of the enemy's heavier units, really thinning out these units that will be difficult to fight in melee. The problem with this is that a small castle forces us to do it outside of the castle walls, leaving the units who are supposed to stop the enemy really exposed to attack, especially from archers. But it's hopefully going to be worth it, and Yari Samurai are pretty good at defending themselves, so that's the plan. They should be able to hold out for a while and buy us plenty of time to rain all the missiles we can on the enemy's heavy units. Meanwhile, they're also making an attack on the northern part of the castle. There's some Naginata Samurai getting annihilated by matchlock fire, matchlocks being pretty much the precise hard counter to Naginata units. That is a perfect target to fire at. We've also got Yari Eshigaru archers supporting us on this front, although they're taking pretty significant losses to the enemy's archers. They've got horse archers and onobushi down there, superior units, so they're going to be slowly killing us, and because my men are firing back at the closer targets, we're not reducing the enemy's rate of fire. So soon there won't be much left of our archers on the walls, but at least they're doing significant damage. You might have heard various explosions throughout the fight. It's our firebomb throwers. They're in the centre of the castle, throwing bombs out at some routing units that are walking past them. Not doing all that much, I must say, but the fact that units are routing means something is working. Our little frontline plan is holding off, and we're actually defeating all of the enemy's samurai units using just one Yari samurai unit and a matchlock unit behind it. It's going pretty well. All the enemy can do to stop my matchlocks right now is fire arrows at them, and that's not going to be especially effective because here on the southern front they only have Ashigaru archers, and it's a difficult shot. They've got a few kills, as you can see, but not enough to stop us from conducting our little plan here. And eventually our cavalry appear to wipe out all of their inferior archers. That should be no problem whatsoever. And at about the same time, the melee troops nearby are rushing off as well. Here we charge forward with Yari Samurai to attack some more archers. We're going to clear up the south side of the castle pretty easily, and everyone who runs away is running the gauntlet of fire bombs, not doing all that much, especially against loosely formed up enemies such as routers, but still, the idea is there. At least it's scaring them and persuading them to run away a little bit faster. You can see we've lost pretty much all the archers who were in significant positions to fire at the enemy on the northern approach, and they've even managed to get some Naginata samurai inside the castle. I had 3 units of katana samurai ready to counter such an attack though, so it was easy enough to finish them off, and they actually routed before they even finished climbing, so we didn't have to face their full strength. At this point the battle is turning in our favour, and the enemy are doing the classic desperation move that the Shogun 2 AI likes to do, and that is just deploy everything in a final attack. They've got generals on foot, they've got their horse archers on foot, and they'll be sending in onobushi as well, but this just didn't come to anything. As they were climbing up, the enemy's overall army morale started to break, especially because they're climbing under constant matchlock fire. The exact positioning of the walls and where our units are garrisoned allows us to keep heavy fire on the enemy as they're climbing, keep their morale nice and low, and with their army losses that should be enough to get rid of them. If they do reach the top, there's not much there to stop them, but I can of course deploy my reserve if I need to. Fortunately, as we see, the battle ends, they all just rout before completing the climb, so that means the Matsuda army has been thoroughly rebuffed. They are not going to be coming back from this one anytime soon. So many heavy units lost. I thought we might lose one of our own Yari Samurai units, but we got away with it somehow, so that's great. We'll eventually be back to full strength and get that win for free. A level up for Yoshiaki inside the castle there, and the enemy survivors moving away. Their daimyo Nakamune actually survived this fight, and he comes right back to us, asking now for peace. I guess I can see why he wants that, but it's not exactly in our interest right now. We want to continue on and try and take the rest of Izumo province from the Matsuda at the very least.
What do you want? Why are you doing this?
I want your fiefs and the income attached. Are you new to this war?
You don't have to do it with those treacherous foreigners at your side. You conquer the people just to betray their heritage. Monsters always fall in the end, Yoshiaki.
Actually, I've been reliably informed that sufficient deeds can acquire one an immortal life in the realm of the Heavenly Father. Paradise, some call it. Shame I won't see you there.
Believe what you want. Your fantasies won't save you.
From you?
I challenge you to a duel. If you are so righteous, then you will surely win. Is that not true?
I accept. I choose for my weapon the matchlock. Shall we begin now? With the remnants of that army destroyed, we can move right on to attack eastern Izumo. Fortunately, there was no army there inside the castle. I didn't actually know that, I just presumed it, given that it probably would have come to join the attack just now if there had been one nearby. So we storm in and take the castle. I did leave a unit of Yari Samurai behind to make sure it wouldn't be killed by this auto-resolve, but things still go absolutely fine and we'll move on in. So there we go, we've taken a new province. We'll need to destroy the Buddhist infrastructure in the area and start converting everyone over to Christianity. Once again, not going to be a particularly speedy process, so we can't move for a while, especially because Western Izumo still isn't completely sorted out yet either. So we do have to do a little bit of fiddling around here to get things to work, and that will take time. Now while that's going on, our fleet is ready to challenge for the trade node that the Ura currently control. We're just going to declare war on them. I really don't think there's going to be any consequence to this. They are allied to the Nanbu, but both them and the Nanbu only have one region, so unlikely to do much, and probably won't field very large navies either, so they probably won't be taking this trade node back anytime soon. I tried to be super cheeky and get the Nanbu to agree to a separate peace right away. They were honourable enough to not accept that deal. They will stay in the war for the sake of their alliance. Good for them, but we're going to achieve our war objective immediately because the Ura trade ships just run away, so that trade node will now be ours. I need to actually put some ships together. I wasn't completely ready to take it, so I need to get some trade ships over to start profiting from it, but once we have it, a complete trade monopoly on foreign trade will be ours. Back on the southern circuit, I wanted to check out how heavily defended the front line was, and very is the answer. There's still 2 Matsuda stacks standing right there defending their castle, and we've seen before they have multiple armies behind the front line as well, so still really no availability to do anything special on that battlefront. And because of that, combined with the fact that in Izumo we can't move out right now due to rebelliousness, I thought maybe we should now get peace with the Matsuda. They expressed an interest in peace before, and they're probably even more interested in it now that we've defeated their faction leader and main army. They were very willing to go to peace with us, in fact willing to go back into the alliance we had previously, but we're not going to bother with that anymore because we do not want this peace to be permanent. We just want them to not attack us for a few turns while we get ready to continue our military operations. I wanted to somehow get something from them, but once again money was off the table. The only thing I could negotiate for was military access, which I took. I don't really need it or have any plan to use it, but it was just something, a sign that they were admitting they were the losing side in that war or something like that. So with that secured, we now have a nice peace that we can use to develop our provinces a little bit and build up all the new places we've taken, and of course get this trade going. There was a bit of a problem with the trade though, as we'll see here. You can see I initially put a small fleet on the trade node, but we're not trading out of it right now for some reason, which I found confusing because there are loads of trade ships on the node, and I also found that the ships currently there couldn't move away, and this new fleet that I was putting in there kind of replaced the one that was already there, and now they're on top of each other. So I think what happened is that Boku Boy and the 4 trade ships have glitched out in some way and become just inactive. They couldn't trade and they couldn't move, and they became passable objects. So it was as if they're not there, but I'm still paying for them. So I eventually had to disband that fleet and just restart building my trade fleet there. That was annoying. Then there was a bit of naval action to go through the next few turns. It was just the Ura. They had some ships in the area, but absolutely no chance against our local fleet. We annihilate their military fleet, and they had some trade ships as well, the trade ships that used to be on the node, who came to blockade a nearby port. That didn't last very long, obviously. So with that all sorted, we got to the point where we were ready to start thinking about moving on to attack the Matsuda. We're still going to honour the peace deal. We'll wait the minimum 10 turns before actually taking any action against them, but we're just going to get ourselves ready. We're going to hide forces on the front line to reduce the probability that they will have forces on the front line in response, because they won't be expecting an invasion so much. Chigaru there already hidden for just such a purpose, and our fleets will start occupying naval choke points to stop them going after our trade once the war starts, just making sure we're absolutely ready so we can have a nice effective start to the next stage of our conquests. And the other thing we want to do is start building these Nanban ports. I've unlocked the ability to spread Christianity through ports by building these mini Christian colonies where missionaries can work from, plus it unlocks the potential for some superior units, and in its upgraded form some very special European units that we'll see later in the campaign. So we're going to get quite a few of those going at this stage. The new terms are as such. In addition to the docklands provisioned to the Portuguese in Bungo, there shall be similar stations in Hizen, Satsuma, Izumo, and here in Aki. These facilities will be permitted to permanently house up to 200 Nanban at any time, plus the crews of any ships attending to the trading spaces. They are free to send any number of missionaries to reside anywhere they choose in the Otomo domain. We will also expand the range of Nanban we can deal with by allowing any merchants from Europe to access these new facilities. I am told they are all much the same in nature. In exchange for these additional provisions, it shall be law that in all towns where Nanban reside, the Nanban's special legal status over Japanese Christians shall be void. Anyone found arresting Christians without cause shall be themselves subject to arrest and judgment, wherever they were born. If it cannot be proven that the victim was Christian, then the previous regulation established by Lord Yoshiaki will continue to apply. As part of our preparations for the next part of our invasion of the Matsuda, I'm going to start sending missionaries out into their territory. The first advantage is that it allows us to see where their armies are, and most importantly see that they're not defending their frontline castle there at Hoki. Secondarily, we can have them start converting people to Christianity, which is something we'll have to do after we take it, but we might as well just do it before we take it, since we're under peace treaty right now. That will mean that public order will be much better once we go and take it, and we may be able to move right on from that castle to capture another. So this is a nice way to count down the turns. The only problem was that it attracted the attention of the enemy monks, and they're coming over here with the most likely intention of converting our guys to Buddhism. However, we get the first shot here because of where they're sitting. You, for some reason, can only convert one way once at a time, so we'll ask them to be Christian before they ask us to be Buddhist. And that gives us the upper hand, essentially, since we'll get all these chances to convert the enemy. And the first one fails, that's annoying, but we'll just bombard the enemy with attempts to convert them, and the second one there does work, so that's one enemy down. They don't actually get converted since a Buddhist monk can't turn into a missionary, so they just die. This is equivalent to assassinating them, although they can be perplexed, which is equivalent to wounding them. They'll be back later. There's another failure, unfortunately, so we haven't got them all, and there are plenty more monks to come, but at least we are still converting everyone else to Christianity, making the population support us overall. Another Matsuda monk appeared there and did manage to get a conversion on us, so it's now 1-for-1, but we still have the numbers. This monk was a higher level monk, so he possibly has really high stats for converting us over. Unfortunately, all of our guys aren't spec'd into doing character conversions, which count as a different skill to province conversions, so while our guys are pretty good at making people in general become Christian, specifically Buddhist monks, they can't really do so well. Now, with that guy actually converted on my first try, we're going to come to look at war with the Matsuda. We do have a treaty with them right now, military access, that I got in the last peace treaty just for no reason. And I think the fact that we have military access to their lands means we can't declare war on them without a penalty, because it sort of counts as a somewhat military alliance style arrangement. So what we need to do is get around that by getting the Amico to start the war. We can actually get an alliance with Amico and join their war with the Matsuda, and I think this counts as being the Amico's fault in some way, so it's a way of getting around the penalties, possibly anyway. Whatever the situation, we're just going to move on and start our attack. You can see they actually did garrison some troops on the front line, so I think the presence of all my missionaries did make them suspect something was going on, or at the very least they put those troops there to stop it from rebelling, because we would have been ruining their public order. So on we went there to get ready for an attack next turn. We're also going to scout out the front line with Chikaharu and Yoshishige, and it's pretty much the same as it was in the previous war with the Matsuda. They've got a couple of stacks in the first castle and a couple more in the next castle, and we're going to just do nothing for now to see if the situation gets a little bit easier to work with. Yet another Matsuda monk appears and goes in for a conversion. That's going to be a failure this time, so that's handy. I'm guessing this will just keep happening because they're aggroed onto our missionaries. Since they're technically in their territory, they want to stop them converting things, but it's not going to be their territory for long, so that may solve the issue. First we convert that monk over, a nice win there. Now we'll go for an attack on the castle. We have enough strength to make it an auto-resolve, but I'm going to lead the attack here with our smaller and weaker army, our reinforcement group, because that will give me a little bit of a side benefit once the fight is over. You are from the Kurokawa of Iwami, are you not?
Yes, my lord.
That is a good family. I wanted to tell you that your handling of the attack on Kuriyoshi Castle was exemplary.
Thank you, my lord. I have visited it before and knew the layout well, my lord.
Good, good. I suppose the same knowledge would give you an advantage in its defense as well?
It is possible, my lord. However, such an honor should be reserved for a member of a higher-ranking family, my lord.
I don't want to make the nobles feel loved. I want to keep my banner flying from that Tenshu. I will provide you with funds to recruit a Hatamoto, General Kurokawa. I hope I will not regret the expense.
My lord! Thank you, my lord! I will fight to the death beneath your banner, as will all my men.
Ah, that's what I like to hear. Back to the other front now. Since the Matsuda weren't really doing anything, just like they did in the previous wars, or didn't as it were, I decided to be provocative. I'm just putting both my armies right on their border to see if they'll attack, and not really moving too far into their territory, because if we do, the armies further to the east might be able to come and attack us, and we'll have a 4-on-2, but if it's just the two nearby, a 2-on-2 may be perfectly fine for us. Now we've got a quick naval battle. Uno was hunting down the Matsuda fleet that I'd seen wandering around the seas of northern Japan. We finally found it, so we came in for a battle. I've noticed that for some reason, in these fights the AI likes to send one ship out ahead of the fleet to come and attack the black ship, and then once you promptly destroy it with overwhelming firepower, the rest of the fleet will be activated and will then start fighting the rest of the fight. They do have fire arrows, as you can see in this fight, but not going to do all that much. And that first ship that made its little probing run to see what the black ship could do quickly found that it was sunk by the first couple of volleys. So down goes that boat and its crew. And as I said, this makes the rest of the fleet activate and try to fight with us, and they can't really win under any circumstances. Even without the black ship, this would be a perfectly winnable fight just with all my medium bunets. Two very brave Boka boys try to make the attack run on the black ship. Not going well for that first one. It goes nose up into the sea. The other one now turning off. Going to be nice and vulnerable to the next couple of volleys. They're starting to get a few fire arrows onto our ship, but luckily it never counted as officially catching fire. Those fire arrows will just go out and no damage will be done. Their trade ships came in for almost what I thought was a boarding action. They came in really close to the black ship, but then just turned away. I think they thought better of it. And we got some close range volleys to hit them nice and hard, although trade ships seem to be very hard to sink compared to regular boats, so you just have to rout them by damaging them and killing a few crew. So we got pretty much everything. There's not much to this fight, but it ended in the way that I highlighted in a previous naval battle, where they try to almost escape. They go up to the red line, but don't leave the battlefield, so you have to go over to the edge of the map and kill a few of their crew to get them to rout, and then they'll leave fine. So a little bit annoying, not sure what causes that. But anyway, there's our decisive victory. So we've got one province captured and their main fleet presumably taken down. A pretty good start to this new Matsuda war, and there'll be more action coming up in the next part. The death of Matsuda Nakamune brought an end to the hope that the Otomo could be tamed. He had believed that killing Yoshiaki could destroy their momentum. Perhaps correctly, but the thousands who had failed before him were not all simply cursed with poor luck. The integrity of the Matsuda was shattered, and their attitude towards the Christian invaders turned from one of defiance to one of fear. Castle after castle was falling, and where banners of Buddhist families flew, the people below them whispered of the secret truths that only the mysterious Nanban knew. That is all for this episode. Thank you so much for watching, and thanks as always to the Officially Devin patrons. We'll finally manage to get a nice decisive battle for Chikaharu and Yoshishige to fight in the next episode of Barbarian Masters.